எல்லாருக்கும் வணக்கம், ni hao, selamat datang. Welcome to Digital Transformation Asia. I'm Cindy Kane, TM Forum's Conference Director, and I'm delighted to be your MC for this morning's session. It's great to be back in my home region after a long 5 years away. எனக்கு சுத்த தமிழ் தெரியாது, ஆனா உங்களோட இந்த மேடையில ஒரு வசனம் தமிழ்ல சொல்றது எனக்கு நல்ல சந்தோஷம். Over the past 7 months, the team and I have listened to all of you and heard from you to shape the conference that you see today. During this process, I found it deeply inspiring to see the creativity, the determination, and the agility that you've all taken to meet the connectivity needs of this market. I hope you are also equally inspired by the lineup of speakers, sessions, and content that we've put together for you today. With a conference theme of using 5G to change the game, we will start this conference this morning with our headliner session, which will explore how we build that connected society. We will then break and then come back together to go to conference tracks, covering from everything from cloud-native IT through to AI and data. We also have a number of networking events and fringe sessions for you to explore, so please do take time to go across the whole beautiful venue to check it all out. In addition, the TM Forum team and I are on hand to help should you need any assistance, so please do come find us if you need us. So, let's start this conference. Please welcome on stage TM Forum CEO, Nick Willetts.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Digital Transformation Asia 2019. Thank you, Cindy, for that great introduction. I'm afraid I'm not as multilingual as Cindy, so you'll have to do with English with me. It's a great pleasure to be here once again, back with an even bigger event for this year in 2019. And I think this is a very important moment in our industry and an important moment in this region, because we're on the brink of a new decade that I think will be the most important decade for this industry in our history. I wanted to start this morning by sharing a few thoughts on the worldview the TM Forum has to set the stage, and then I'm going to be followed by a very impressive lineup of speakers who are going to share their thoughts. And we'll bring that together at the end with a debate through several of our industry leaders to share perspective, and we'll bring you into that discussion as well. So what brings us here today? Well, the huge change that's coming over the next decade is no surprise to any of us. We only have to look back over the last decade to see the kind of monumental change that can be made in just 10 years. The way we communicate, the way we consume content, the way that we work together, the way that we interact with our families and loved ones has all been transformed in a little over a decade. And we know our world is speeding up. Our world right here in this industry is speeding up. We're rolling out the next generation of mobile technology faster than ever before. There's 30 networks now live around the world running 5G, and over 40 OEMs producing devices to connect to those networks. But you might say, fifth time around, we should be getting good at it by now. We should be starting to really speed up. For me, however, 5G is only one of a set of technologies that are coming together in a perfect storm. And I'm sure you're going to hear more about those throughout the morning. 5G plus edge compute plus AI gives us an ability to change the world around us quite fundamentally. This is one of the most exciting times, I think, to be in this business and to be alive if you're in a technology role, because we're on the brink of being able to connect and look at our world in different ways, give our world ways to cope with a growing population, climate change, many other challenges as well. So it's the most exciting of times, and I think this is one of the most exciting regions. Asia will be at the epicenter of much of this change, one of the most experimental and innovative parts of the world, and one of the most rapidly growing parts of the world for our industry. But if we're to thrive, we have to get past waiting for some killer app. We have to change the recipe from the one we've used the 4 times before. We need to get past just talking about handsets and consumers and start to focus on the fundamental change that's needed. It's time for us as an industry to think differently. It's time for us to change the way our companies run and the way this industry functions. It's time for us to change the game. There's 3 big numbers I'd like to use just to start out with to illustrate what I mean. The first is pretty big, 2.8 billion, that's the number of subscribers in Asia. That accounts for more than 50% of the world's subscribers. And in the past year, we've seen how this region remains a leader in use of that technology. Indonesians did more e-commerce through their phones than anywhere else in the world. The Thais banked more through their phones. And the Indians have become the largest consumers per user of data in the world, from a position of 9th or 10th just a couple of years ago. The mobile economy is booming. And yes, it's exciting. 5G is taking off. But if we're honest, what we're doing so far is just a straight extension of our existing business model. We're using the same operating environment, the same way of working to replicate what we've done before. And we know that if we're really going to change the game, we have to change how we work. There's a much bigger opportunity. As many have said before me, 5G is much more than just another G. A faster phone is not my aspiration for the industry. A faster connection is not enough if we're going to really transform the industries we work with. In fact, a faster phone is just the tip of the iceberg. And that's why it's not as exciting as even the next number, which is 200 times bigger. $582 billion US dollars. This is a conservative view from our friends at Ericsson of the size of the market that's possible to be unlocked in B2B with 5G. And this is just looking at the connectivity opportunity. If you look beyond that, you're well over $1 trillion. In fact, Qualcomm just published a report last week saying that by 2035, $13.1 trillion will be underpinned by 5G technology. If today technology accounts for 5% of GDP, and in 10 years it's estimated to be 10%, the other 90% is going to be underpinned by the technologies we can provide, and we can be at the center of that change if we choose to. There's so many different industries with different use cases, and as we start to drive into those industries, and you'll hear from some of our speakers this morning about the way they're doing that, we're still following a single truth, which is that everything that can be digitized will be. We said it almost 10 years ago, and it remains true to this day. We know and we can see it now starting to happen. And for those of us who've been watching this transformation and trying to provoke it for some time, it's very exciting to see it finally happening. So we're all convinced. We're convinced there's an opportunity. But is it an opportunity for us? What does the connectivity create, and is it an opportunity we can seize? Well, that moves me on to my third, even bigger number. 40 zettabytes of data. That's the size of what we can call the global data sphere, the amount of data in our world. That's 40 trillion gigabytes. It's a big number. We're all part of it. We're generating ourselves 700 interactions a day on our phones. By 2025, that will grow to over 5,000 interactions a day. But the biggest growth is not going to come from us tapping into our smart screens. It's going to come from a world of connected devices, a world of connectivity, a world of knowledge we've never seen before. And that's why that number's going to get even bigger, to a number we can even less comprehend. By 2025, that global data sphere will be 170 zettabytes. But simply, the amount of data in the world is going to double and then double again in the next 5 years. But data alone doesn't hold value. It's a perfect storm of technologies that will allow us to shift. 5G will allow us to connect this density of devices at the right latency, will allow us to provide the right security for those devices. But it has to be combined with multi-access edge compute and AI if we're to make sense of that data. More than half of this data is going to be processed at the edge of our networks, not in centralized data centers. And this rapid growth in edge computing and edge processing is a huge opportunity for our industry if we play it right. The edge isn't even something static. A car becomes a data center with wheels, a plane, a data center with wings. And all of that adds up to an enormous amount of change. Our industry, the communications industry, should be integral to that change. But if we're going to make it, we have to change our mindset. There's 3 different ways I believe we have to change that mindset. And first, let me start by saying I'm a technologist at heart. I'm a bit of a geek. I love technology. I'm sure I'm amongst friends here when I say that. But technology is not where we will start if we are going to change the game. We need to deliver outcomes. And as the TM Forum has started to work with customer industries and industries around the world who want to consume our capabilities, one of the first comments they make when I say, what do you think of the telecoms industry, is to say, please stop coming to us with technology. Stop coming with SIM cards and connectivity. Come to us with solutions and outcomes, because that's what we need. Because all of our B2B customers are also drowning in technology. They've built their own legacy. They have all the same challenges we see in this industry. So we have to understand how we help them build those outcomes. That means starting with outcomes and not just technology. It also means delivering intelligence, not data. Not just collecting volumes of data, not 170 zettabytes and being proud of a big number, but saying data is actually meaningless unless you can extract value. A lot of people have said data is the new oil. We've been saying that for a decade. But just like oil, it's only any good if you can refine it. It's only any use if you can extract value from it. With data, it's algorithms and AI that will be the moneymaker, not the raw data alone. And finally, how we do business, how we act as an industry, how we work with each other, has to fundamentally change. Innovation comes from opening our borders, from being open to competition and to working together. If you want any example of that, just look at every company that has grown so phenomenally in the digital economy in the last 2 decades. They've done so by opening up. The smartphone has only been as successful as it has because the app environment has been open for others to innovate on top of. We've let other people play in that market. We now have to do the same, because there is no way that one industry, and even one group of really smart people, can come up with all of the answers. We have to provide the platform for others to play on. And that means being in the business of ecosystems and platforms, not egosystems that may have got us where we are today. This industry will thrive on collaboration over the next decade, and it has thrived on collaboration until now. But now it is even more important than ever. So I'll say it again. We need to be an open platform for innovation. We need to present global solutions, not geographically fragmented ones. And that's going to be critical if we're going to change the game. That's because the landscape is transforming. We are no longer a standalone connectivity product. We are part of a digital fabric, a platform of capabilities. Yet today, if you want to order connectivity products, it seems slow and old compared to how easily I can start a new cloud compute instance or spin up a new AI engine with my credit card in 5 minutes on the web. Connectivity needs to be that simple if we're to take this value. B2B customers will expect their own level of control, their own level of ability, and they need a set of capabilities that we can deliver in partnership with others, not all by ourselves, but as part of an ecosystem of partners. And that's what unlocks the huge growth for our industry. So what are we going to do about it? I mean, really, what is this industry going to do? We've been talking about this for some time. There's more than 250 companies represented at this event here this week. More than 2/3 of you in the room will work for operators. Can we really not change this? I believe we can. I believe it starts here today with the collaboration that will happen in this event, and that through opening up this dialogue, by having the dialogue through this stage and throughout the conference, we can make that change. It's about more than a faster phone. But if we're going to be serious about it, we have to start now, because the truth is, we're already behind. We have to start by transforming from this view of our world, which is baked into our mindset as to how the industry works, to a very different world indeed. Getting away from legacy concepts like OSS and BSS, like IT somehow being different from the network, like there being hugely human-orientated operations, to a world of zero-touch interoperability. The TM Forum set out a vision earlier this year, building on the challenges we've been looking at for the last 2 years, to say, let's build the open digital framework that can help deliver not just autonomous networks, but autonomous infrastructure that can help us to deliver and manage and monetize with a completely different approach to our IT. And one that is built on the basis that to move fast enough, we have to embrace machine learning and AI ops. And in reality, that means not just doing that for ourselves, but for our partners as well. And moving from something that today takes us at least 18 months to even move to a minimum viable product, to be able to move that to 18 days or even less. Now, core to that framework and core to being able to look at our industry differently and core to our collaboration is establishing a new language and a new way of looking at our architecture. And to do that, a little earlier this year, we took the next step from our open API framework, which has been so successfully used around the world, and moved to deliver the open digital architecture. And it's building on the lessons we've learned from seeing those open APIs deployed. You just have to look at the TM Forum website to see some of the great case studies from what our members are achieving. Airtel in Sri Lanka, cutting OpEx by 80% by transforming in just 6 months their IT stack. These transformations can be done. They take hard work, they take determination, they take inspired thinking, and yes, standards are a part of that puzzle. With Deutsche Telekom in Europe, being able to roll out a single app in half the time it would have taken before, thanks to taking a standardized approach, and again, a very different way of working. These tools work, and now we want to take that to the next stage. And that's why earlier this year, we started to look at how do we go beyond open APIs? How do we go beyond an open digital architecture? How do we make this real? How do we create a truly plug-and-play IT architecture? And working with projects championed by Orange and Vodafone, we showed at our conference a few months ago that it was possible. We could swap our IT components in the way that many of us have talked about for a long while, but not been able to demonstrate. Today, we're taking the next step in that journey because today we're announcing the next stage of our Open API manifesto with 13 companies who've signed up publicly to say, we want to change the game when it comes to telco systems and solutions. We're going to help make that happen. We're going to drive towards this truly interoperable, plug-and-play, cloud-native environment, and we're going to get there, because if we don't, we remain a ball and chain around our industry's feet. So I'm delighted to show the 13 companies who've been the first to sign our new manifesto, and I know, based on our experience, they will not be the last. I'm sure many of you in the room will join us over the next few days. And we have a global architecture summit here this week where you can learn a lot more. So we can only drive this change because of all of you. We can only drive this change because we work together as an industry. And for 30 years, the TM Forum has been driving that collaboration. Like most 30-year-olds, I think the TM Forum is just coming into its prime. That's why we're developing an open digital framework. That's why we're getting ready for the next decade. That's why we want to help accelerate the industry's transformation. Just take the collaboration you will see on show here this week. More than 200 people in 60 companies have worked together over the last 3 or 4 months to produce 17 proof-of-concept projects you will see out on the show floor. The Catalyst projects show one of the most remarkable forms of collaboration in our industry, from everything from deep technology use, through to AI ops, through to looking at edge computing. It's working because we're collaborating, and we're collaborating as an industry and working together. So please do make time this week to see the Catalyst, to see that collaboration action, to be inspired by them, and hopefully to join us for the future one. The world needs this kind of openness and standards more than ever. We don't want trade wars. We want an industry that works as one around the world. And the way we do that is by working together. And I'll say it again. This industry has always won when it collaborates. Look back at our history. When we break down our geographic borders, that's where we win. And we want TM Forum to provide the platform for that collaboration to happen. But we're just the platform. It comes down to all of the brilliant and smart people we work with around the world in our 850 member companies, all of you here this week to drive that collaboration. Together, we can make that change happen. So I have just one last number for you this morning before we get into our next speaker. The number 1. It's about all of you. The one meaningful conversation you have to hear this week, the one moment of inspiration you take back into your company, the one catalyst that shows you something new, the one exhibitor that shows you a different way to solve the problem. It starts with all of us. It starts with each of you. So let's change the game together. Thank you very much.